Hello everyone, welcome back again to the Arsenal. The Ganis Rodrygo joins. £55 million transfers. Completed Arsenal's dream end to the summer window. The summer of 2025 will forever be remembered by Arsenal supporters as the season where the club not only redefined its ambitions, but also finally made the kind of statement that matched its illustrious history. After years of progress under Mikel Arteta, years of building, shaping, and instilling a winning mentality, the North London Giants completed a series of transfers that left fans across the globe buzzing. At the very heart of it all was the marquee signing of Rodrygo from Real Madrid in a £55 million deal, a transfer that carried both glamour and substance. For Arsenal, it wasn't just about signing a star, it was about signaling to the world that they were ready to compete at the very top, both domestically and in Europe. The build-up to the deal. All summer long, Arsenal had been linked with big names. The club had already secured Ebereki Eze in a record-breaking move from Crystal Palace earlier in the window, reinforcing their creative midfield options. They had also strengthened the backline with Piero Hincapié, and whispers of more additions kept fans glued to every news outlet. But one rumor kept resurfacing: Rodrygo goes, the Brazilian forward who had dazzled at the Bernabeu, but often found himself battling for consistent minutes in a star-studded Real Madrid front line. Arsenal scouts had been following him for years, admiring his versatility, technical flair, and big-game pedigree. For Arteta, who was obsessed with adding dynamism and unpredictability to his attack, Rodrygo represented the perfect piece of the puzzle. Negotiations were never simple. Real Madrid initially demanded over £70 million, and there were concerns about whether Rodrygo truly wanted to leave Spain. But Arsenal's sporting director, Edu Gaspar, used both his Brazilian connection and his sharp negotiation skills to convince the player and bring down the fee. After weeks of back and forth, the breakthrough came. Arsenal would pay £55 million, with performance-related add-ons that could push the deal higher. When the news broke, Arsenal fans exploded with joy on social media. The thought of an attacking quartet featuring Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Ebereki Eze, and Rodrygo was something supporters had only dreamed about. Suddenly, Arsenal looked like a side ready to not just challenge Manchester City and Liverpool, but to dominate. Rodrygo's arrival in London. The Brazilian touched down at London Colney to a hero's welcome. Cameras followed his every step as he posed in the red and white Arsenal shirt for the first time. The club's media team released a slick announcement video, blending his highlights at Real Madrid with clips of Arsenal legends like Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp. The message was clear. Rodrygo wasn't just another signing, he was the future. At his unveiling press conference, Rodrygo spoke with humility, but also ambition. For me, Arsenal is a club with history and ambition. I want to be part of this new era, to win titles and to make the fans proud. I spoke with Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli before deciding, and they told me this is a family. I am ready. Mikel Arteta, sitting beside him, smiled knowingly. Rodrygo gives us something very special. He can play wide, he can play central, he can score, he can create. At 24 years old, he already has incredible experience. This is the level Arsenal must reach, to attract world-class talent and integrate them into our style. Tactical revolution. Arteta had been building his philosophy carefully since taking over, emphasizing control, intensity, and positional play. With Rodrygo, he now had the flexibility to switch systems seamlessly. In a 4-3-3, Rodrygo could operate on the right, allowing Saka to rest or rotate, while also interchanging with Eze and Jesus. In a 4-2-3-1, he could play as the central attacking midfielder or even as a second striker behind Jesus. And in high-pressure matches, Arteta could unleash a devastating front three of Rodrygo, Jesus, Saka, supported by Eze as the creative force. Rodrygo's arrival also meant Arsenal had one of the deepest attacking units in Europe. For years, the Gunners had been criticized for lacking depth when injuries struck. Now with Saka, Eze, Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, and Rodrygo all competing, Arteta could rotate without losing quality. The atmosphere among fans in North London, the mood was euphoric. Ticket demand soared, and Arsenal shirts with Rodrygo 11 sold out within hours of release. Fans remembered the pain of past transfer windows where Arsenal failed to land their top targets. But now, under Arteta and Edu, the club was moving with decisiveness and ambition. Some supporters even compared the signing to when Arsène Wenger brought in Thierry Henry in 1999, an investment in a young attacker who would grow into a superstar. Of course, Rodrygo already had Champions League goals, La Liga titles, and international experience with Brazil. The potential was staggering, the dream end to the window. Rodrygo's signing capped what many were calling Arsenal's best transfer window in decades. In total, the club had brought in Rodrygo, £55 million from Real Madrid, Eberechi Eze, £67.5 million from Crystal Palace, Piero Hincapié, £35 million from Bayer Leverkusen, a promising young goalkeeper to compete with Aaron Ramsdale. All told, the spending topped £150 million. But unlike the scattergun approaches of the past, this was calculated investment in players who could transform the squad's present and future. Meanwhile, Arsenal had also cleared out fringe players who no longer fit Arteta's plans. It was a streamlined, balanced squad, blending youth and experience, flair and discipline. The Premier League impact. The new-look Arsenal entered the Premier League season with momentum. Pundits began tipping them as genuine title contenders, alongside Manchester City and Liverpool. Pep Guardiola, asked about Rodrygo's move, gave a typically thoughtful answer. Arsenal are very smart. Rodrygo is top quality. He will give them another dimension. It makes the league stronger, and it makes our job harder. Former Arsenal players were equally enthusiastic. Ian Wright called it a signing that makes you dream, while Thierry Henry remarked that Rodrygo has the talent and mentality to become an Arsenal legend if he wants it. Beyond the pitch, the transfer also boosted Arsenal's global brand. In Brazil, where Rodrygo is a national hero, Arsenal's following skyrocketed. Sponsors lined up to associate with the new project, and the Emirates Stadium was set for record-breaking attendance figures. For Rodrygo himself, it was a fresh challenge. At Real Madrid, he had sometimes been overshadowed by Vinicius Jr. and other Galacticos. At Arsenal, he had the chance to be the face of the project, a leader of the new generation. The dream of silverware Arsenal fans, scarred by years without a Premier League title since 2004, now dared to dream again. Could Rodrygo be the missing piece? Could this be the moment Arsenal finally lifted the Champions League? Arteta remained calm, refusing to overhype. But even he admitted, with Rodrygo, with the team we have, we must think big. We want to compete at the very highest level. Conclusion: Rodrygo's £55 million transfer to Arsenal was more than just a headline signing. It was the culmination of years of rebuilding, the crystallization of Arteta's vision, and the spark that ignited a fan base. For Arsenal supporters, it was a dream end to the summer window, a statement that their club was back among Europe's elite, ready to fight for glory. The journey ahead would be challenging, but one thing was certain. With Rodrygo in red and white, the future looked brighter than ever.